The dawn was cold and unforgiving as Captain Marcus gazed over the fortified ridge, a critical stronghold in the heart of Valor Valley. His troops, a mix of seasoned veterans and fresh recruits, were silent, their faces taut with fear and determination. The enemy was closing in, and the ridge was all that stood between them and the defenseless towns below. For Marcus, this was more than just a tactical position. It was a lifeline for the valley's people, their hopes and future resting on his shoulders. Marcus had been a soldier for most of his life, rising through the ranks with grit and tenacity. Known for his unyielding resolve and tactical brilliance, he had become a beacon of hope for his men. But even he felt the weight of the coming battle. The enemy had them outnumbered 3-1, with armor divisions and air support that dwarfed their modest defenses. Yet, Valor Valley had always stood firm, and Marcus intended to uphold that legacy, no matter the cost. "Captain," Lieutenant Bren called, jogging up with a tablet in hand. "Recon drones confirm the enemy's advance. ETA is less than an hour." Marcus studied the screen, his brow furrowing. "They're spreading thin to encircle us," he muttered. "It's a gamble. If we can hold the center, we might be able to break their momentum. And if we don't?" Bren asked hesitantly. Marcus's gaze hardened. "Then we make them bleed, for every inch." The soldiers worked quickly to reinforce their positions. Sandbags were piled higher, mines laid, and anti-tank weapons distributed. Marcus moved among his men, offering a steadying hand here and a firm word there. He paused to kneel beside Private Lyle, a young recruit barely out of training, trembling as he loaded his rifle. "First time?" Marcus asked. Lyle nodded, his voice barely a whisper. "Yes, sir." Marcus placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "Fear is natural, son. But remember this, you're not alone. We're all in this together. Watch your squad, follow orders, and you'll make it through." The private nodded, a flicker of resolve in his eyes. Marcus stood, his gaze sweeping over his troops. They were ready, or as ready as they could be. Each man and woman carried their own fears, yet they also bore the unshakable determination to protect their home. As the first enemy shells began to fall, Marcus took his position at the command post, a makeshift bunker reinforced with steel plates and concrete. The air filled with the deafening roar of artillery and the acrid smell of gunpowder. The enemy's tanks rolled into view, their turrets swiveling to unleash destruction. Infantry followed in tight formations, their war cries echoing across the battlefield. "Hold steady." Marcus's voice boomed over the comms. "Wait for my command." The enemy closed the distance, their confidence evident in their aggressive advance. When they were within range, Marcus gave the order. "Fire." The ridge erupted in a symphony of gunfire and explosions. Rockets streaked through the air, striking the lead tanks and halting their advance. Machine guns raked through the infantry, forcing them to seek cover. Marcus's troops fought with tenacity, their resolve bolstered by their captain's unshakable presence. Despite their efforts, the enemy's sheer numbers began to take their toll. The left flank was overrun, forcing a hasty retreat to secondary positions. Marcus quickly adjusted his strategy, redeploying snipers and mortar teams to slow the enemy's advance. "Captain, they're pushing hard on the right," Bren reported. "If they break through, we'll be surrounded." Marcus clenched his jaw. "Pull 2 squads from the center and reinforce the right. Tell them to hold at all costs." "Yes, sir," Bren replied, rushing to carry out the order. As the battle raged on, Marcus found himself in the thick of the fighting. He led a counterattack to reclaim the left flank, his rifle barking as he took down enemy soldiers with precision. His presence galvanized his troops, inspiring them to push back against overwhelming odds. Yet every step forward came at a cost. The cries of the wounded and dying filled the air, a grim reminder of the stakes they faced. By nightfall, the battlefield was a chaotic mess of smoke, fire, and shattered earth. Both sides had suffered heavy losses, but the enemy's advance had stalled. Marcus gathered his officers in the command post to plan their next move. "They'll hit us again at first light," Marcus said, pointing to the map spread out on the table. "Their supply lines are stretched thin. If we can disrupt their logistics, we might force a retreat." "How do we do that with what's left of our forces?" Bren asked, his voice laced with doubt. "A small team," Marcus replied. "We infiltrate their rear lines, target their fuel and ammunition depots. It's risky, but it's our best shot." The officers exchanged uneasy glances, but nodded in agreement. Marcus selected a group of volunteers, including Bren and Private Lyle, for the mission. Under the cover of darkness, they slipped through the enemy's perimeter, navigating the treacherous terrain with quiet determination. The operation was a harrowing success. Explosions lit up the night as the enemy's supplies went up in flames. The disruption sowed chaos in their ranks, delaying their assault and buying Marcus's troops precious time. At dawn, the enemy launched a desperate attack, their forces weakened and disorganized. Marcus rallied his soldiers for one final stand. "This is it," he shouted. "For our homes, for our loved ones, we fight to the last." The ridge became a crucible of fire and steel. Marcus fought alongside his men, his voice carrying over the chaos as he directed defenses and inspired courage. Bren manned a heavy machine gun, mowing down waves of attackers, while Lyle held his ground with surprising grit, his fear replaced by determination. As the battle reached its climax, Marcus spotted the enemy commander's vehicle advancing toward the front. Seizing the opportunity, he grabbed an anti-tank launcher and took aim. The rocket streaked through the air, striking the vehicle and engulfing it in a fiery explosion. The enemy's morale shattered, and their forces began to retreat. Cheers erupted from the exhausted defenders as the enemy fell back. The ridge, though scarred and battered, remained in their hands. Marcus surveyed the battlefield, his heart heavy with the loss of so many brave souls. Yet, he felt a glimmer of hope. They had defied the odds and held the line. In the days that followed, reinforcements arrived, and the wounded were evacuated. The people of the valley celebrated their heroes, their gratitude immeasurable. Marcus, however, knew the war was far from over. There would be more battles to fight, more sacrifices to make. But for now, they had won a crucial victory. As the sun set over Valor Ridge, Marcus stood alone, gazing at the horizon. The scars of war would stay with him, but so would the memory of those who had fought and fallen. They had made their stand, and their courage would echo through the ages. Marcus took a deep breath, his resolve unshaken. The fight was not over, but neither was his determination to see it through. For his people, for his home, he would endure. Expanded scene ideas. Add more background about the valley and its strategic importance. Include a heartfelt moment where a soldier tells Marcus why they're fighting. Expand on Marcus's personal reflections during quieter moments in the battle. Provide more detailed descriptions of the infiltration mission.